Hey guys, Razor Mike here. Welcome to my channel where we talk about things photography. And in today's episode we are doing basically photo critiques. So we're looking at some photos. I kind of have a couple of samples here. So we'll be looking at them and kind of discussing what can improve, what can be better, so we can evaluate and learn from. Let's get going. Alright guys, welcome back. So in today's episode we're going to be looking through a couple of images I have here. We're going to be identifying, what's good about them, what could be improved. That way we can learn from every photo we see. And as a photographer, that's one thing I do is, or we should all be doing, is evaluating photos and seeing their strengths and where they could have been improved, right? Because by doing this, we're kind of training our eye to see things in this way, making us better on-camera photographers, right? Where we can fix things in camera instead of post-production, because that's ultimately what we want to do. If we can fix it in camera, we spend less time behind a computer and more time shooting, which I'm sure that's what every photographer wants to do. All right, so let's get going. We're gonna go through some images and we're gonna, evaluate them. Let's go. All right guys, so I'm switching over to my iPad here, and we're gonna go through different photos, and I'm gonna identify certain things that are great about the shot, certain things that could be improved, certain things that could have been improved during the taking of this shot. Okay, so we're gonna start with this one here. As you guys can see, this is a very nice shot, a good concept. There's a couple of things there that I would have changed, or maybe would have liked to have seen different. So a couple of things that I noticed right off the bat is the hands, right? One thing that a lot of photographers sometimes don't notice is hand placement. So hand placement is a huge part, as well as body shifting of the body, that's gonna really make photos stand out, right? So here, I like the expression on her face. It's very nice. It's very soft. So it complements the basket of flowers she has here. One thing I would note is the hands, right? So you have the hand here, and then here it's kind of like non-existent. It's kind of truncated over here. So I would have liked to have seen these hands more in play. Normally you want to see an element of the hand. So you typically do not want to show the back of the hand, right? You want to show the side. You want to show the side of the hand, whether it's this side or the other side, but you typically don't want to show the back of the hand. That's just things that you want to avoid, is showing the back or the palm of the hand. So here I would definitely, I would have maybe put her arm in a different position in which I can show more the side, the back side or the front side of the hand, whether that's bringing it up here, bringing the hand up here, and kind of the arm, and making her kind of like if she's touching her hair here, and maybe bring this other arm back into the frame here, right? And maybe that other arm could be playing a little bit with the garment. It could be playing with this garment here, or maybe it could be kind of softly just here touching her face right there. Either way, you're going to create a triangle shape here with this arm, and possibly another triangle shape here with this arm, which will make the shot a little bit more dynamic, and I think that would have improved the shot a lot. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. And she's wearing an outfit, definitely very fashionable. Again, can you guys spot any issues right now? Let me show you the whole thing. Spot any issues right now? Give you guys a couple seconds to kind of analyze this. So one great thing here is the use of wardrobe. So wardrobe, I gotta say, it's very great. This garment here that she's wearing of her bottom, fantastic. The combination of the different apparel is great. The only thing I would say is, one of the things I would say is, we're losing the hand here, right? So where is that hand? It's being cropped off. So guys, you got to keep in mind, when you're behind the lens, The same way, the same cropping techniques that you would crop post-production apply while you're taking the shot in camera, right? So you never want to crop a hand at, you never want to crop at the joints, right? So just to kind of let you know, you should never be cropping here or here or here. Anywhere where there's a joint, you should never be cropping, because those are basically the rules of cropping. It makes a person look like they're an amputee, right? The limb is missing. The same way you should never point a limb at the lens. You shouldn't crop at these areas, right? So that's just some of the basic fundamentals of where to crop. So that being the case, let me erase some of this. So speaking of that, so basically, definitely, we cropped out the hand here. It would have been nice to have just, the hand could have just simply surfaced over here on top of her lap. Her arm could have been here and her hand could have been here on her lap. As far as the expression on her face, I think could have been better. It's very neutral. It's not enticing. It's not flirtatious. So she's pretty neutral here. Usually you want your model to have some kind of expression that says something about the shot or that adds to the shot, but neutral usually it's not the right way to go. Usually you want her to have some kind of expression to kind of add to the photograph. Okay, but this is good use here. As you can see here, we're using the side of the hand, not the back of the hand. So this is a good use, and you have the soft fingers, so the fingers are nice and relaxed, so very good there. And again, as far as the lighting, very nice lighting pattern. You have a little bit of highlight here on the that's giving her some rim lighting there on the side of her face, which is very nice. So over and all, good shot, minus those things that of course could have been improved. Let's move on to the next one. All right, so this next one here, I would have to say, well, first I'm going to give you guys a couple of moments to kind of look at this and see if you can point out any improvements that could be made to the shot. All right, so one thing I would notice right off the bat is we have a limb that is pointing directly at the lens, right? So we have this elbow here that is pointing directly at the lens, and that's of course, this goes back to fundamentals. You shouldn't have any limbs pointing to the lens, whether that's a hand pointing directly at the lens, or an elbow or a knee. You shouldn't have any limbs pointing at the lens. So this could have been mitigated by just kind of moving her arm a little bit more this way, right? So she would have to open up a little bit more, and at least her elbow will be pointing outward towards the weights and away from directly pointing at the lens. Another thing that could have been done is she could have brought this arm all together and maybe had it, here around the waist, which would have created this nice triangle pattern here. And at the same time, it gives her a way to add to the photo, right? Because we have more of dynamic lines here instead of this short truncation of the arm here with the limb pointing at the lens. And then you could have had her kind of just putting her hand here on her waist, which will make her waist look smaller, adding to her shape. I mean, she obviously has an incredible shape. It would add to this. It would add to her shape. And then obviously this arm could be used to kind of softly tuck under her chin, or she could have used it just to kind of caress her hair back here, giving her another triangle here, right? So we have a triangle here, and then we have a triangle here. And the expression on her face is very good. It's kind of like a flirtatious type of look. So very nice expression there. So this is a very nice lighting pattern as well. As you could tell, we have the light on this side, and it looks like to be a very soft light, so it's been diffused, so possibly a softbox. It looks like it's about 45-degree angle over to the left, and we do have another light that's being produced over on this side as well behind her. that is giving us a little bit of that illumination over here. So very good lighting pattern. The cropping of this image is good because, you know, as you said, we're cropping here. We're not cropping at the joint, we're cropping at mid-thigh, so very good in the cropping. So those are just some simple things that could have been improved on this one. So let's move on to the next one. All right, so I'll have you guys look at this for a little bit, see if you spot anything, and then we can kind of talk a little bit about it. All right, so as far as this shot, I mean, I always like to throw in a wild card in here, right? To see, oh my God, is there anything wrong with this? So I don't see anything wrong with this photo. I would just, you know, keep in mind that the background is also part of the photo, right? So I think her pose is nice. The lighting, the way it's captured is very nice. I love backlit shots like this. I love the use of the shadows, it's a very nice shot. The only thing I would change here, or I would look out for, are things like this. As you guys can see here in the background, this I noticed right off the bat, that could have been removed in post-production. You know, you can keep some of this other texture, which is fine. This other texture that's part of the wall is fine, but you know, this one is really distracting, right? Because it's like a huge piece here that looks like I don't know. All I can say is that it was distracting. My eye just kind of automatically shifted over there just to look at, to see what, just wondering what that is. And that's one thing I guess we have to kind of look at as photographers. If we don't catch it during the capturing, we should definitely notice afterwards, because and eliminate all distractions from our shot, right? Because we want the eye to look at this right here. We don't want it to veer off and look at, you know, distractions that are in the photo, right? So we definitely want to make sure that we keep the images nice and clean, and that the eye goes exactly where we want it to go. All right, so let's look at the next one. All right, I'll give you guys a couple seconds to look at this one. Okay, so for this one, I would say one thing would be, again, you know, we have the back of the hand showing here. That's a no-no. We want to have the side of this hand or the side of this hand showing. And then we got this other hand being tucked away over here, and she's basically being shot square on, right? So she's square on. It doesn't make the shot very interesting or dynamic. It's very square. What you want to do is you don't want to shoot girls straight on like this. You want to tilt them, right? You want to tilt this shoulder down, then the shoulder up. You want to tilt her so she's more positioned a little bit. Maybe the torso will be facing more this way better. So kind of like a 30-60 angle. And of course you want to, you know, fix these hands and make them, you know, maybe on the side of her hip here, or we're showing this side of the hand. And this one could have been just simply flared out a little bit, creating a triangle here, a triangle pattern with her arm. This one could have been maybe holding onto this garment, and maybe bringing this one up here, either playing with her hair. She could have been playing with this top part of the swimsuit. You typically want to have the hands opposite of each other at different heights, right? So if you have a hand here, you don't want the other hand to be here. You want them to be more down here, so that they're at different heights. It just creates a more dynamic image. And as far as her expression, I think her expression is pretty plain. I think it could have been improved a little bit, but it's not the main factor here that could have made it better, right? All right, so let's move on to the next one. All right, so this is a pose against leaning up against the wall here. So one thing I would say that could have been improved is it goes back to cropping, right? Cropping limbs in camera, right? So as you can see here, the hand, we cropped it at the wrong spot, right? So like we said, we should never crop here or at the no cropping at the joints, right? So not there, not there, not here, not here, not here, and not here. We don't crop at the joints, right? So here we cropped at the joint. So this is a crop at the joint right here, and we cropped it obviously with her hair, right? The crop was made with her hair. So you see the hair meets the limb right there. So this would have improved if we would have just have her moved her hand a little higher, so we see a little bit of her hand on her hair here, and therefore there isn't this crop that happens with her hair. Other than that, I think the positioning of her body is great. We're creating this nice S curve over here, and yeah, I mean, everything else is pretty dynamic, very well posed. The only thing I would also do is move her away from this wall a little bit more. Maybe would have positioned her over here so we can avoid this shadow back here, right? It would have been, or at least make the shadow a lot softer. But it's not a big deal. I mean, it's just a small little thing. But yeah, you want to avoid those. At least the shadow is a little soft and it's not a hard shadow. But you want to avoid those harsh shadows on walls. All right, moving on to the next one. This is the same pose. Well, not the same pose, the same girl. I would say a different pose. So I'll give you guys a couple of minutes to look over this shot really quick. And yeah, so here I think I cropped here. This was my fault. I kind of cropped it a little bit here. But again, this is not a deal breaker because it's not cropping at her ankle. It's cropping more like the toes, which is more acceptable. The pose is very nice. The only thing I would say is definitely keep an eye out for, right off the bat, I can see the face here. And if you look in, her eyes are pointing way too outward, right? So you've seen too much white in the eyes. So that's something that we definitely have to look out for, is too much white in the eyes. It looks like, a zombie, or she's possessed or something. It would have been nice to just bring those eyes into the frame a little bit more, to be able to have a more natural, well, now she looks like a demon, but you guys get it. The eyes shouldn't be too far away, because it creates this, possessed look, right? Could have been simple by just having her move her chin a little bit closer, more to your direction, or just moving her eyes over to you. Good position of the hands, nice soft hands. One is on the wall here, and the other one is just kind of lying on her thigh here, creating this little triangle there, triangle shape. I like the way she's pointing her hip in here, and I would have turned her hips just a little bit because it kind of feels like it's pointing a little bit towards the camera, just a little bit, but it's not a deal breaker, right? It's still a good shot. I would have just turned her hips a little bit so that the knee is definitely pointing more outward, and of course move her face so that we can fix those eyes so that she doesn't look possessed. But other than that, it's a very nice shot. All right, moving on, and I'm gonna go to these last two over here. Okay, so this one, I'll give you guys a couple of minutes to look after this, and then we can talk about it. Oh no, a couple seconds actually, but. All right, so let's talk about this one. This one is a very nice shot. Again, there's really nothing too crazy about this. The only thing I would say is, again, it's like her eyes are almost to the extreme right here. I would have just had her kind of shift her eyes a little bit more towards me so that we can reduce some of this white, right? I mean, it doesn't bother me as much as the other one. This one is at least a little bit more natural. Other than that, I think the pose is nice, very sexy. I think this garment, because we have to look at the garments as well and how it's being used. It kind of feels like it's kind of like clumped up here in this area. I think it would have been nicer if we would have allowed this garment to just flow freely, right? So rather than it being kind of accumulated here in this area, if it would have been allowed to flow naturally, it would feel a little bit more natural, and maybe it would introduce some movement. Maybe if there was wind at this location, it would have provided some nice movement with this garment. Other than that, very nice pose, very soft light, very nice soft light, and good manipulation of the hands here. We're seeing the side of the hand, not the back of the hand, so very good there. So other than that, the only other thing that I kind of have pet peeve of mine is, where's the other arm? Like what happened to the other arm, right? So typically what I like to do is bring the other arm into the frame somehow. The other arm could be kind of just gently kind of like holding her, pretend this is the other arm. So it could have been something like she could have just been, just kind of moving her hair to the side there with the other arm. I think it would have looked more natural, because right now it's like you're missing that other arm, and I have, I naturally want to wonder, like, where's the other arm? Like, obviously it's on the other side, but it's always good to bring both arms into the frame, so that you can easily see where everything is. The same way, you separate these legs here, you separate the legs so you can see the other one, right? It would look odd if both legs were aligned exactly the same, so that it looks like just one leg. That doesn't seem right. So the same way goes for the arms. You should always kind of shift them somehow so that they're kind of both in view, the same way you would separate her legs here to see that both legs are there and accounted for. All right, and this last one, so we're gonna look at this last one and go ahead and give you a couple seconds to look at it. All right, so on this last one, of course, we break the golden rule here of you're basically pointing the limb at the camera here, and of course, you have this very awkward looking, it looks like a short arm. It looks very unnatural. As you can notice here, also her hand, the way it's facing, it looks like the hand has been cut off, right? It looks like a nub over here. What she should have done is, if you want to position the hand here on top of the tub, you want to position the hand outward, right? So that her fingers are here and her thumb is just slightly here, right? So you want something like that. So definitely not like this. We have the knee here, as we can tell, is pointing at the lens. It would have been nice to maybe change your position a little bit. I would have definitely, and again, she shot straight on. You want to avoid these shots, even though she has a nice figure. It could be accentuated by just simply shifting her a little bit off to the right or to the left, so that her shoulders are a little bit more vertical than just horizontal. As far as the expression on her face, it's good. It's like a nice, happy type of expression. Again, the eyes are good. I would just position her face a little different. That would be basically fixed when you reposition her shoulders so that she's more off and not directly square to the camera. And of course, we have to make sure that we, when we shoot these things, obviously this was probably shot with a cell phone. Let's think about, depth, right? So there's a lot of distracting things here. Like, there's a lot of distracting things in the background that maybe could have been blurred out, right? Like, I don't need to see all of this stuff that's in the bathroom that's being reflected from the mirror. So if this would have been shot with a little bit more of a shallow depth of field, my focus could be more about the product, which clearly is the main point in this model holding the product, right? So that's just my 2 cents. And all right, guys, that was fun. So we learned a lot from a couple of images. We hopefully this will help you kind of see images in a different way. I myself have been kind of doing this, and it's helped me a lot to be able to fix these things during the shoot, instead of realizing, oh my god, this could have been different, this could have been, I didn't see this, or I this could have been so much better if I would have had A, B, and C done in camera, right? Because then after post-production, I try to fix it by doing Photoshop work, and I end up spending more time behind a computer, which I rather spend less time behind a computer and more time shooting. So hopefully this helped you out. This is something, of course, you're gonna have to practice and get your and get that creative eye going, right? We want to nurture that eye of the tiger to be able to catch these things before the post-production process. All right, so Razor Mike here. Thank you for tuning in. Go ahead and subscribe so we can go ahead and continue our conversations with other things. I'm out.